Now we are going to continue the further part of the test 1 question paper. Let us come to question number 4, where you have to attempt 3 sums out of 4, which each sum would carry 4 marks. Here now the question arises which to select or what 3 questions to select out of the 4 questions. Children, I would like to suggest here that you just see all the 4 questions and decide which questions would be easy for you to calculate or the sums which would be easy for you to understand. The topics out of the 6 topics where you are properly confident, attempt those 3 sums out of the 4. Here the questions are asked on chapter 2 quadratic equation, chapter 3 simultaneous equation, chapter 4 probability and chapter 6 statistics part 2. The first sum is based on the quadratic equation where you have to find out the second root when one of the root is given. For it, learn the basics of quadratic equation once again very properly and say that if one of the root is alpha, which is 2 minus root 5, the other root would be conjugate of it, that is 2 plus root 5. Here we have to find out the sum of the 2 roots as well as the product of the 2 roots. As we have to substitute both the values in the formula x square minus alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta is equal to 0. Alpha plus beta would be the sum of the 2 roots which is given and you would get 4. Whereas alpha beta would be the product of the 2 roots where you have to apply the formula a minus b into a plus b is equal to a square minus b square and you would get the answer minus 1. Now just substitute these 2 values in the given formula and get the equation x square minus 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. So if you know the basics very well, if you study the chapter very well, you can easily score the 4 marks without any hesitation. Let us come to question number 2, which is based on chapter number 3 simultaneous equations using the Cramer's rule. For Cramer's rule, again you should know the method very properly and accordingly put the values for finding out the determinant in x and determinant in y. So determinant would be minus 2, determinant in x would be minus 4 and the value of dy would be 6. Then put these values in the formula x is equal to dx upon d to get the value of the first variable x, that is 2, and y is equal to dy upon d to get the value of the second variable, that is minus 3. Here I would like to tell you specifically, when you solve the sum by any method for finding out the values of the 2 variables, your final answer should include the 2 values written separately alphabetically, that is x is equal to 2 and y is equal to minus 3. Let us come to question number 3, which is the sum based on probability, which is based on the 15 tickets bearing the numbers from 1 to 15 and 1 ticket is drawn at random from the bag. This is the sentence which would tell you that the sample space would contain the numbers 1 to 15, where the sample points will be 15 and then you have to find out the sample points in event 1 and 2 as it is asked, bearing an even number and second bearing a number which is multiple of 5. Accordingly substitute the values in the formula of probability, that is PA is equal to NA upon NS and PB is equal to NB upon NS, and find out the probability of the 2 events which are asked. Finally, the 4th sum is about the histogram and frequency polygon you have to draw for the given following distribution, where you have to write the columns accordingly because you have to construct a frequency polygon. And so your column should contain the first class, the class mark, then the frequency and accordingly the points to be plotted. Construct the polygon properly and histogram on the graph paper. Specify it on the graph paper with the help of the pencil. So if you do all the things regularly and properly, including the scale and marking the points properly, drawing the frequency polygon properly, you would get 4 marks if you select the question. But I would advise that if you select the first 3 questions, you would be in a flow of writing, whereas sum number 4 would take little more time as it is a construction sum and it requires more time to draw a histogram and a frequency polygon. But children, it is up to you to select the 3 questions out of 4. We come to question number 4, where we have to construct a histogram and a frequency polygon. To construct a histogram and a frequency polygon, we have to draw the chart which would require the columns accordingly, because a frequency polygon would start from the x-axis and would end at the y-axis, as which has been discussed very properly in our previous lecture. Accordingly, you draw the class and the frequency accordingly with the scale to be written, and so you would score properly the 4 marks for drawing the histogram and the frequency polygon. But here a little suggestion is, if you have to select this question, you have to allot little more time for drawing the histogram and frequency polygon. So if you are proper with the other theories, then you select the first 3 questions instead of selecting question number 4, which would allot you little more time to solve. But it is up to you to solve the 3 questions out of the 4. Now let us come to question number 5, where you have to solve any 4 out of 5, and here each question would carry 4 marks. This is one of the important questions of all the paper set, as each question is carrying 4 marks, so you have 5 marks, so you have to write in details including the answer, the formulas, the statements wherever required. Here also the selection carries importance. You have to complete the paper in the prescribed time, so you would select such questions where you are totally 100% confident. Do not select such a question which would require you more time to think, but do select such questions which would carry you easy marks. Here all the 5 questions are based on different chapters if you go through the 5 questions. The first question is dependent on chapter 1, that is arithmetic progression and geometric progression. The second question is dependent on chapter 2, that is solving a quadratic equation. The third sum is based on chapter number 4, probability. The fourth sum is based on chapter number 3, that is linear equation in 2 variables, and the sum number 5 is based on statistics 1. When you come to sum number 1, that is geometric progression, you should be well versed with all the formulas related to the geometric progression, because here they have given you the second term 24 and the fifth term 81. Accordingly, you substitute the values in the formulae, find out the equations and find out first term a and the common ratio r. This sum is quite simpler, so you can select this sum. Second sum is rather a little difficult, because if you find this quadratic equation, it has huge numbers 216, 793 and 216. Even then, if you have more time for solving question number 5, please do go for this sum, because this sum is simpler and not so difficult as it looks at. If we go through the question, we find that x raised to 6 can be converted as x cubes square. So we can convert this equation into a quadratic equation by assuming x cube as a. And so the equation would first become 216a square minus 793a plus 216 is equal to 0. Now it has come to the proper form of quadratic equation, where we can factorize the quadratic equation by splitting the middle term. So you have to be little proper with mathematics. Find out the product of 216 into 216. Instead of multiplying it, actually use a shortcut method and find out its factors and see that the middle term 793 can be splitted as minus 729a and minus 64a to get the two factors 8a minus 27 and 27 minus a is equal to 0. So to get the two factors, a is 27 upon 8 or a is equal to 8 upon 27. Then you have to resubstitute the value of a as x cube, and so we get x cube is equal to 27 upon 8 or x cube is equal to 8 upon 27. To find the value of x as 3 upon 2 or x as 2 upon 3 by taking the cube root on both the sides. So 3 upon 2 and 2 upon 3 would be the two roots of the quadratic equation 216 x raised to 6 minus 793 x cube plus 216 is equal to 0. Children, definitely you are going to get some different sums with a little higher difficulty level in your SSC board paper, which would not only provide you confidence to solve the paper but also score full marks if you are proper and well versed with all the formulas of the algebra syllabus. Now let us come to sum number 3, which is based on the probability, a little simpler sum which is based on the card which is drawn from a well shuffled deck of 52 cards. So the sample points would be 52, and accordingly you find the probability of getting the first event where you have to find a king of red color, second event where you have to find a face card, and the third event where a red face card has to be found out. Sum number 4 is based on chapter number 3, that is linear equation, where a statement sum is asked. Now when a statement sum is asked, I would suggest you to read the sum very carefully, understand the two conditions. Here they have asked you the rates of the tickets, rupees 20 and rupees 40 per ticket, and the total collection was rupees 900. So accordingly, when you are going to solve the sum using two variables, the ticket of rupees 40 you have to assume as x and the ticket of rupees 20 as y, or vice versa. Write the two equations as x plus y is equal to 35, because the number of tickets are 35, and then accordingly the price 20x plus 40y is equal to 900, where you can reduce by 20, and so you get the two equations. Solve them simultaneously to get the value of x as 25 and y as 10. Whenever you solve such a statement sum with simultaneously, please do not forget to write the answer first in the form of x is 25, y is equal to 10, and do not forget to write the answer in words, because 25 would be the number of tickets of rupees 20 each and 10 would be the number of tickets of rupees 40 each. Now we come to the last sum, that is sum number 5, where they have asked you to find the assumed the mean diameter of the head of the screw by the assumed mean method. Here you have to properly go through the statistics 1 chapter and understand the method, how to find out the mean by the assumed mean method, where you have to assume a is equal to a value which would come in the class marks. So accordingly make the columns of the class interval, the class mark, the deviation, frequency, and the product of fi and di. Then accordingly, using the formulas, d bar is equal to sum of all fi di upon sum of all fi, find out the mean by substituting the value of a and the value of d bar which you find out earlier. And then do not forget to write the answer, the mean diameter of the head of the screw, accordingly. So these were all the 5 types of questions, starting from 1 mark to ending till 5 mark sums. Children, once again, go through all the formulas and the various theorems and the theories related to all the topics, and confidently attempt all the questions for you to score 60 marks. So if you are well versed with all the topics, I won't find that it would be difficult for you to solve any question paper given to you. So once again, best wishes for your board exams, and if you have any queries or doubts, please do not hesitate to contact www.loksatta.com. Thank you.